is completely indecisive. Nobody knows who's going to win out in this one.
Well, we'll have to find out after watching the first match, and that will maybe give us a better clue of who's going to come out on top. Because it is a best of 5, they have plenty of time to get things under wraps and get their game plan going for the remainder of the series. We do see Zolhe starting off the bat. Some quick aggression. Shock with a good shot as well towards ZPS. A good demo, and there's the finish from Hoxer.
Well, Afterthought's coming out making his statement, and that's one way to do it. An excellent follow by Hoxer. Coming off the side wall, Shock taking the shot, but he is not discouraged. He still has a hand in that play. Excellently done.
Excellent execution, excellent bump and demo play as well. We've seen so many of those throughout the North American Renegade Cup finals, and we're probably going to see even more going into the last few matches of the day. But ZPS gonna send that off towards the center and quickly cleared away by the defense. Alpha Cap all into Shock. Now T. Carell has a chance to take it forward. Stepped up immensely for Sway eSports against Splice in their previous matchup to guarantee themselves a spot in the upper final for today. But there's a hit off the backboard denied by Alpha Cap, and ZPS will transition it to the Afterthought end.
And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Sway eSports. They've been doing a good job on the defensive end, and there's a bit of a defense from Afterthought. But they're finally getting out onto the offensive side. Pretty solid. Ooh, T. Carell, you really gonna do that to a guy?
It seems like he is. He's gonna tie things up. Shock with the hit off the corner, and ZPS with the perfect follow-up to center it. Simple 1-2 execution between the Sway eSports members. They're able to tie things up quite quickly into this matchup. A little over a minute gone so far. Not as high scoring as some of the other games we have seen, but they're wanting to save their energy for the longer series they're gonna have to go through to come out on top and guarantee themselves a spot in the grand final. Hoxer over to Zolhe. It's an open net, but not a good shot. There's the, oh my goodness, a great shot from Shock. Almost denied by the defense, but he was able to sneak it through.
And I could tell the really big problem right here was just that the player in net Alpha Cap there just didn't have any boost to get up for it. Nobody else was close enough to try and challenge it off the backboard. Caused a huge problem, but a huge solution there for Afterthought as they now have the lead.
Just put enough power behind the shot, and eventually it'll go through even after deflecting off the defense, and worked out quite well, as you mentioned. Now another chance, this time for Hoxer. Saw the open lane of entry, but it did get blocked off by the defense. Here's another one for Shock this time. Almost knocked away. Alpha Cap can't take it out of his side quick enough. Buy them some time on defense to regain their efforts, try and transition onto offense themselves. They were looking pretty good at the first half of this game, but their first 2 minutes actually hasn't even reached the halfway point of this one.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like for Sway right now, they just need more offense. It feels like Afterthought's been doing an excellent job of just shutting them down and keeping them out of the orange half of the field.
Back into the Sway eSports end. This time ZPS succeeds in clearing it away. Zolhe can't get the touch over top as T. Carell, but does get knocked back towards an almost open net. ZPS will make sure that doesn't happen. Set up to Shock, going off the backboard. Not the finish from him, but there is from his teammate. Off the crossbar, barely dangling on the goal line, and does force itself through.
We were a little bit skeptical there for just a second, but we knew the great placement here from Zolhe. Crossbar down, and it bounced a couple of times. That's generally not optimal, but you know it's a sign of a great shot placement.
Great shot placement so far for all 3 members of Afterthought, and Sway eSports still struggling to break out. ZPS, though, is able to hit that off the crossbar. No follow through yet from his teammates. It seems like T. Carell fortunately lost connection, so he'll have to try and get back into the match as quickly as possible to continue this matchup. But it was a good shot by Hoxer. We are going to take a little break and buy him some time to get back into this one. But so far, we've seen a lot of great effort being put in by Afterthought so far on offense.
Yeah, I feel like that's really the story of the game. As I mentioned, they were doing a great job of keeping their opponents at bay and on their own defensive half. So that was really the one thing that stood out to me. They're not Revelation anymore. It's going to get me every single time.
They're not Revelation. They were for all 4 of the monthlies that they participated in, and even the WSOE qualifiers. They took down Splice during that, took down Splice during this tournament. Yesterday, would definitely recommend checking out the VODs as well, because there were some insane matchups throughout the first 2 days of this tournament. But it's been great to see how well Afterthought have been able to shut down that aggressive power we saw for Sway eSports when they played RBG and Splice.
Yeah, and honestly, in watching this game right now, it's pretty obvious that Sway just are getting a little bit outpaced. We saw, I want to say a specific play, Afterthought actually had to play it into his own backfield because he realized he wasn't going to be able to get the pass into midfield because he had somebody bearing down on him. It's just what happens sometimes. You get outpaced and suddenly it's like, well, we can't move up on the offense because they're just not going to let us.
Luckily for them, it is only the first game of this best of 5, so they have some time to adapt. Usually when it's a best of 3, you lose that first game. You get 60 seconds, but sometimes that's just not enough to come back into the series. We saw it happen a few times. Upper 90, though, yesterday, they were able to do it after going down against Lights Out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Upper 90, and what we've seen from Upper 90 so far today has been a powerhouse team. Again, they took down Splice 2-0, so
I'm still trying to comprehend exactly how that happened. Both teams were looking pretty solid then, and if we go back to talking about the dudes and the peeps, that was also a pretty solid one, too. 2 overtimes in a row. The peeps took both of those, and Arsenal just being Arsenal as usual.
Yeah, and one thing I did actually see from the peeps, though, was, well, we'll not get into that series right now. But, I mean, for the peeps, one thing that they really could have improved on was just Ralph and Reddles make a couple of double commits. That was the big issue. But honestly, I mean, still looking at the next match, actually, we can take a look at Upper 90 and Peeps. Just a quick breakdown while we're waiting for the match to get underway. Upper 90 versus the Peeps is going to be a difficult one. Because as we mentioned, Upper 90 versus Splice. Definitely an upset. And Democat looked like he was really playing the game that he wanted to play. But it's difficult to say. Peeps were looking solid as well. Taking down the dudes is no small feat.
I mean, all teams have looked pretty solid so far. This is our first time for this day of broadcast seeing Sway eSports. And unfortunately, they haven't really been able to break out of their own side. But as of course, this is just game number 1 of this best of 5 in the upper final. And then we also have the lower semifinal, lower final, and grand final still to come as well. Plenty of action on the docket for today. But we can recap a little bit of the tournament so far. We have had 12 teams. If you don't know exactly who all of them are, I would recommend checking them out. So we had Trip Commit, Upper 90, RBG Esports, Lights Out, Regalia, Bread, Peeps, the boys, Splice, Sway, the dudes, and Afterthought. A lot of great teams that you'll probably see happening or playing in the Rival Series qualifiers that'll be coming up soon.
And that's one big thing to talk about, honestly. Like, a lot of these teams, they're playing with a couple of different rosters for a couple of the teams that are present. As we mentioned, the Peeps are going to be picking up Reddles from the dudes who just played a moment ago. But Rival Series qualifier is definitely something to look forward to. I'm very excited for that one. Of course, if you didn't know, Afterthought was going through a couple of roster changes. Shock did manage to find a team, so we're happy about that one. He's going to be secured for a roster for the Rival Series qualifier. Very excited about that one. And of course, the other 2 players for Afterthought did move on to another roster as well. So going to be exciting to see them playing in the Rival Series qualifier. Lots of good teams here. I mean, it's difficult to say who you think is going to make it all the way through. Triple Commit and RBG are 2 names that I honestly expect to be up there. And then Upper 90, obviously,
yeah,
I
definitely can't count them
as
out
well.
Now.
I was expecting them before now, but oh my goodness.
I mean, one thing to note is that some of these roster changes are happening after this tournament. So when it comes to Upper 90, Skills, he's actually moving over to the dudes, which they might be thinking if they do better than the dudes in this one, which they already have by making it through the next match to face off against the Peeps, they're like, maybe we just keep Skills on our roster.
Well, that's the thing. It was like, I was wondering about that. I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, Upper 90, they just popped off against Splice. And I mean, again, that's no small matter. That's absolutely monumental if you're Upper 90. Definitely a pop-off moment if I've ever seen one. So it's kind of a question mark now. I'm sure that roster move is already set in stone, so there's nothing they can do about it. But maybe hindsight is 2020?
I mean, it bodes well for them because they're picking up a player who has been performing well. And also, speaking of Demo, we saw so much out of him in the series against Splice. He had at least 4 goals total throughout both games, had a hat-trick in the second one, so he's looked pretty solid so far. And he's probably going to look good going into that matchup against the Peeps, which will be happening later on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the series between Sway and Afterthought, though. As we mentioned, a little bit of an interesting dynamic going on where Afterthought were really keeping Sway locked down in their own half. And I mean, if we're thinking about it, when they played against Splice, that was not the Sway eSports that we were seeing. We were seeing a Sway that was confident in their ability to move onto the offensive end, shutting down Splice in the passing lanes, etc., etc. They were doing everything perfect. But Afterthought so far this game have looked incredibly solid.
Yeah, this has just been the first little bit of the first game. If you are just joining in right now, it has been a disconnect with one of the players, so we're just getting them back to the lobby so it can restart the matchup and then get back into it. Currently is 3-1 for that scoreline, though. Afterthought with the lead A lot of great shots happening for them, and they're going to be looking to try and get into the grand finals and get that early victory against them for the best of 5. Why don't we talk about that as well, the best of 5 format compared to the best of 3. All of the matches up to this one have been best of 3. So is this first matchup, or this first game, win or loss, matter as much as it does before?
Well, I've said it a couple of days before now that losing a game, obviously winning a game is beneficial, but losing a game can help you adapt to your opponents a lot better. So, I mean, losing game 1 is going to be, oh, darn, we lost. But it's not as critical in a best of 5 as it is in a best of 3, because obviously you lose that game 1, suddenly your life is on the line. And I feel like that might have been what took Splice aback when they first lost their match over there in the losers bracket, and what maybe allowed Upper 90 to take it all in the end. But now for this best of 5 format, you got Sway potentially losing this match. I mean, their scoreline is currently out of their favor, but it's only a half. So what you have to think about is maybe they lose, sure. But Afterthought is a team that you could probably dissect a little bit from. Maybe not completely, because they are unpredictable as times, as we saw with the first goal of this match.
Exactly.
But it will be helpful. I mean, say, oh, dang, we lost. But you still got, that's still 2 losses that you got on the table. I mean, 2 losses is a lot of games, personally. I mean, it's a lot of time to adapt.
A lot of time to adapt, a lot of time they've had for now to try and get back into it. We are going to try and shift it on over to a quick little break while we get those players back to the lobby, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with this matchup between Sway eSports and Afterthought. Welcome back to day 3 of the North American Renegade Cup Finals. Copy me a little bit there. I see you, Squid. We had an unfortunate disconnect with T. Carell in that last matchup, so they did have to finish it out 2v3, but he was able to reconnect for game 2, so we're going to quickly go into that one. The current series score is 1-0 for Afterthought against Splice, or not Splice, Sway eSports. Sway eSports. Luckily, they were able to get their player back in, so we can get underway with this one as quickly as possible, not take too much time, and get back into this best of 5 between Sway eSports and Afterthought. Didn't really get to see all of both teams in that first one, as we only saw really half the matchup, but it was looking fairly well for Afterthought after they got those first 3 goals, and Sway Sport only managed to get 1, but we might see one there for AlphaKep. Does get taken away by the defense. Managed to hold off, so don't get scored as quickly as they did last time. There might be a dangerous spot there. T. Carell will be stopped by Shock. A good attempt by Zolhe, and there's the finish from Hoxer.
And Afterthought, they're picking up right where they left off. They are doing a fantastic job with the passes. Shock off the top corner to Zolhe to Hoxer. That is just textbook plays right there. What more did you expect from Afterthought? But thankfully, like we mentioned, Sway did end up losing that first game. Obviously, a 2v3 is very difficult to win, but it's a best of 5, so they still have a little bit of a buffer just in case.
True, and they were already down by 2 goals when it came to the halfway point. In the way they were playing, we saw Afterthought most likely going to be able to just keep them out of their end, zone them as much as possible, and keep that constant pressure going to score more goals, like we see one here from Shock.
Another passing play as well. Zolhe with a nice delivery into the midfield. A nice bump there on T. Carell as well. Says you're going to play man on defense, well, I'm just going to take the man out of the play. And a wonderful play and all. And again, Afterthought, they are looking solid.
Afterthought looking pretty solid, but the defense of Sway eSports not looking solid enough to stop this offensive attack. We keep seeing it time and time again. Off the back wall, Hoxer going for his staple finish we've seen so far. Shock able to pop it up into the air. AlphaKep getting blocked by Zolhe. Hoxer send it back. Now again, midfield sent up and down towards Shock, but a good bump by the defense buys them some space they desperately need on offense. As T. Carell can't get the touch. Lost the challenge and the 50-50. As the defense regains control of the ball and carries it forward all the way towards the net. Big lob, but blocked by T. Carell. Shock off that backboard. Not enough to put some consistent pressure and strengthen this lead for Afterthought even more.
And we'll have to see if Revelation can keep this ball on the offensive end. I really like their creative idea to get it downfield for the first time. And there's ZP's wonderful shot. Hoxer's there for the defense. And finally, Sway getting some quality offense, which is what I really like to see.
Quality offense and quality defense so far after those first 2 goals, as AlphaKep is able to bait out one attacker. Takes his time with a second, hands it off, but T. Carell was not prepared quite yet, but ZPS was. And so was Zolhe in position. The pass is off, but denied by Alpha Cap Hoxer. The cherry pick. Just go up so early on that pre-jump, and Zolhe preventing any more opportunities for Sway eSports. They want to keep this at a 2-goal game, maybe make it 3, but ZPS able to get back in time and prevent it from strengthening even further.
And again, what we're seeing is a pattern. Sway just moving downfield, or trying to, against Afterthought, who are trying to get them in a little bit of a box, but they're trying to get that breakout, and here's an opportunity. Hoxer kept out that time around. Sway still in a bad spot, though. Their last man was Demo, just off target, and they will be able to get it away. Quality defense, and Sway, they're starting to play more and more solid as the game goes on.
Getting into their comfort zone on offense and defense. We're able to get the stop there exactly when they needed it. Prevent any more offensive pressure from Afterthought. Now Shock over to Hoxer, or Zolhe. So they got a good connection, but did get stopped out by the defense. Good potential setup just to keep it in play. Will be taken out by Sway eSports. On the midfield line towards the backboard, dropping it down. Shock with the redirect towards the side, but Alpha Cap sending it back. Almost the finish they need, barely off target. A chance for a counterattack, but they keep it in.
Great play there from ZPS, staying as that defensive midfield. And another opportunity. That one's going to soar straight across the net, and they're going back and forth on the goal line right there. But Sway is not able to put one through. I'm loving the sustained pressure, though, and keeping at the midfield line is absolutely crucial.
Now Shock. Blocked by ZPS on the clear. T-Carell. Reconnecting, gets a connection with the ball off the back wall, and Alpha Cap can't get it. ZPS blocked by Zolhe with his car. Alpha Cap able to get back in time. Prevent the setup from Zolhe. Now back to Afterthought's end. Stopped by T-Carell. Potential setup. Could get the block there, but not the finish he needed. Still down by 2, 40 seconds remain.
And a great 50-50 right there to put it in front of the net, but just a lot of respect for their opponents resulted in no shot coming on. And I feel like that might be one of the big issues for Sway. But again, these first 2 goals came out very, very quickly, and since then it's been an incredibly close game.
Great center by the offense of Sway eSports. But nobody was in position. There is someone this time, but rebound is nowhere in sight. As Hoxer and Zolhe take command of the charge. T-Carell able to get a clear, but might be too little too late. Counting down to the final seconds. Still the 2-goal lead, holding strong, and that will eventually be it. Afterthought taking game 2 confidently after shutting out Sway eSports.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all you can really say about it. Afterthought, though, again, they scored 2 quick goals in the opening minute, it seemed, and then Sway after that, they were looking solid. They actually outshot their opponents in that game. So I love the tenacity from Sway. And here's the way you have to look at this. You're down 2 games now on a best of 5. But that does not change the number of games that you need to win in order to take the series. So that is the mindset I really want to see out of these guys. They've been looking solid. Their tenacity is always good. I've seen that out of them plenty of times. So I'm really hoping we see a comeback here.
Just got to get those 3 games against their opponents in order to come out on top and move on to the grand finals. But if you're Afterthought, you only need 1 more. And they might be sending Sway home early to the lower final, which they have to say. Not home early, but down to the lower final, where they'll be waiting the winner of Upper 90 and Peeps. But it's going to be another good game for game number 3 between these two. I feel like the way that Afterthought were looking after getting those first 2 goals, Sway might have been able to come back if those first 2 goals didn't happen. They kept them out of their side for the second half of that game, and were doing so well to put all the shots on it, all the pressure, they just couldn't get it past the defense.
As I mentioned, Sway did actually outshoot their opponents in that match. I believe there was something like 7 shots on as compared to 5 for Afterthought. So really want to see more out of them this game. I mean, we saw plenty, to be fair, but more on the offensive end at the beginning of the game, and I feel like this is Sway's to take.
We'll see if they can take it. Getting into game 3 of this best of 5. It is the upper final of the North American Renegade Cup Finals. It's another 5 minutes. We'll clock down on the timer. ZPS leaves it up to Shock. Carell was able to send it forward. Now Alpha Cap pick up the mantle. ZPS over to Alpha Cap. Good setup. Good finish, and there's the goal they need to start off strong.
Sway did not even score a single one for the entirety of game number 2, and here they score in the first 23 seconds. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and a great angle from ZPS as well, putting it on target. That is textbook.
Those are the textbook plays they need to pull out to come out on top against Afterthought. They want to get the full reverse sweep they need to get into the grand finals and buy themselves some time to breathe and strategize before trying to become the North American Renegade Cup final champions after already being monthly champions themselves for both these teams. A great shot by Alpha Cap, able to dissect the defense on the angle and get it through.
Finding the opening right here is a tough matter, but here he is anyways. He's going to put that one straight into the upper corner. Very nicely done, weaving it through those 2 defenders right there, and Sway with a solid lead.
Now it's all eyes on Afterthought, as they were in the upper hand position the previous game, being up by 2 before halftime. Sway eSports are in their comfort zone, which they haven't been this entire series so far. Have never had the lead against Afterthought. Shock sends it off, triple commit. Now up to the defense to try and get back in time. Zolhe able to get in position, a great block on the shot, but is still dangerously in their side. Hawks are with a booming clear straight towards the net and will be scooped up by Alpha Cap and out.
I'm really liking it from Sway. They're looking completely strong in this one, and Afterthought are still trying to find their bearings. You can tell that it's been a complete change of pace, and here's Alpha Cap with an open net, sends it straight home, and there you go.
Great shot by Alpha Cap yet again, picking up some boost just so he can get there in time. Knew he had the pace to get over top of the defender, trying to prevent it from going towards the net. A wide open lane of entry for him to secure the 3-goal lead at 3 minutes and 30 seconds as well. Plenty of game time for Afterthought to potentially come back, but we haven't seen that happen just yet in any of these teams' games. Ooh. Almost there, though. They got one straight off the crossbar and out. Zolhe trying to hit it into the corner. Give them another pass at it. Shock. Stopped by Alpha Cap. Over to ZPS. Gonna leave that for his teammate. Carry it forward into the side of Afterthought, trying to just get an even stronger lead and make sure it is impossible for Afterthought to come back in this one.
Yeah, and right now for Sway, if you can just keep stacking goal upon goal, that is absolutely paramount for you right now, because you want to take as much momentum as you can, because they need this reverse sweep now in order to stay in the upper bracket. It's a tall order, but they've got the lead right now, and they look to be holding on to it as we approach the half.
Great booming shot towards the backboard. Drop down, a good save, but not enough as Alpha Cap yet again, this time with a hat trick.
More and more and more and more goals keep dropping into their basket right there. Of course, Shock wants a little bit of a better clear, but that was already pretty good as it was. I mean, for Zolhe, he was looking at that and he's thinking to himself, I've got all of the shot lines covered right here. No, he does not. Alpha Cap's gonna find a way through every single time. My goodness, what a change of pace here for Sway.
Shows how good of an individual player Alpha Cap is, but the defense is having to hold on for Sway eSports this time. They are still up by 4, but facing pressure on offense from Afterthought. A great shot does sneak by the defense of ZPS, and Hawkser gets one on the board.
Might be a bit of a consolation goal at this point, but I mean, they could turn that easily into a comeback if Sway aren't careful. And for ZPS, it looks like he was just in a bit of an awkward position, so not really going to tack too much up on that one if you're Sway, and I hope that they don't because they still have a solid lead here.
Ticarel having it popped up to Hawkser. Now it is Afterthought on offense yet again. Very dangerous for Sway eSports. We saw during day 2, some of the teams that got a bit too complacent with their strong lead were able to get countered and taken advantage of, like we saw with upper 90. But now, Afterthought again on offense. Ticarel does get it away towards the left side. ZPS can't get it out yet. Shock over to his teammate. Ticarel with a great body block. Does get bumped a little bit. Can't get there in time. Off the backboard. Here's the follow-up. Nobody home, and there's the goal for Zolhe.
And, I mean, somebody was home. It was ZPS, but he was currently getting evicted by Shock. Look at that one, just absolutely taken out of the play. Nothing he can do there. And a bit of a double commit at the top of the box from Sway. Resulted in a nice, easy open net for Zolhe to take a shot at. They still have a mildly strengthy 2-goal lead. Strength, a bit of an interesting word, but you get the idea. Sway still have the lead here, and they can hold on to it with 90 seconds to go, and it's going to be their order now. Afterthought's on the move.
Bit of a gap for them to overcome, but so far they have already done just that in shorter time. Now it's going towards their side, and that's not going to look good. ZPS will gladly take that one into the back of the net.
Freebie. Sometimes you get these out of nowhere. It looked like he actually did bump Shock a little bit on that play. I'd have to go and watch the replay back, but it did look like Shock was a bit forcibly moved there. And ZPS, I mean, that's a little bit of revenge. He was the one that got bumped out of the net on the previous play by Shock. So there you go. That's just what happens. Circle of life.
Now Shock could not maintain control, does get sent back. Their momentum might be lost after that goal. Zolhe takes it forward, a great setup, but nobody on the rebound. Sway eSports are patiently waiting and not waiting long to stop that one as Afterthought sends it forward towards the midfield. ZPS can't get there in time. Off the backboard, might be a chance for them to keep it in play. Back towards their own end, Shock will take this off the wall for a better angle, sets up his teammate. Hawks are almost got in front of ZPS for that one, but not enough as it gets sent back their way and almost into the back of the net, but no, it bounces out off the post.
And so much aggression there from Sway, but then there was ZPS. Wait a second. What? T-Corral.
We're gonna have to take a look on that one for a second just to see the replay. Off the ceiling, pops straight down, hits the ball right behind the defender. Had a great angle on that one too. Seemed impossible, but he is able to pull it off either way.
All right, T-Corral, I'm giving you a red card for that one. Nope, not happening. And not in my good Rocket Leaguing arena.
We might not be able to give them red cards in Rocket League, but we might have to give them the win after that one. 6-2 with 15 seconds remaining for this third game. Boding very well for Sway eSports against Afterthought. After we saw a little bit of life from AFT, almost came back after those 2 consecutive goals, but then got stopped out by ZPS, and they got that counterattack on them early on.
Well, if you're Sway, that's one way to do business. Well, I guess Neo Tokyo is their map now, but 8 saves. 8 saves, 9 shots, and every goal was assisted except for 1. So at least there's that. But every player getting involved for the side of Sway. So being a team effort, definitely something you want to see because they've always been known to be team players. And of course, you called out T-Corral as the one man to watch, but then ZPS and Afterthought, I mean, you think of those guys.
They all looked amazing.
And it's like, that's the way you say it. It's like, who are you looking out for that game? Well,
everyone. You got to look out for everyone, especially if you're Afterthought. They were looking at T-Corral because we mentioned him and chalked him up a lot over the break, but Afterthought really the main difference maker in that one. Got the first 3 goals for his team, a hat trick, and made sure there was no contest when it came to that possession of the ball, and it looked so well going into the latter half of that game as well.
Yeah, and every time it looked like there was a counterattack downfield for Afterthought, it was just ZPS stopping at the midfield line, just saying, like, I'm going to have to ask you to slow down, all right? That goal line is off limits. No go, no fly zone.
That goal line is, but your goal line is definitely not off limits for Sway eSports from what we saw happen in that last game, and they're going to be looking to continue that going into Game 4 of this best of 5, currently on their way to try and get the reverse sweep. They mentioned before on Twitter they're looking to get that #1 seed for Rivals Series, and this might be the way to do it by taking down this very strong Afterthought team, but still a lot of games to be played, still a lot of this upper final match to be played out as well. As we get into this next one between Sway eSports Afterthought, currently 2-1 in favor of AFT. Now ZPS, a quick start off the bat, almost the finish they need, but barely deflected out. A little bit too early on the approach as Hawkser tried to go the distance, but ends up getting bumped into his teammate. Shock has an angle, but instead will be T-Corral defending that with precision.
A pool shot bump. Most interesting thing I think I've seen all weekend.
Worked out well for the defense, and they'll gladly take that away, but not away from their goal line just yet. Zolhe maintaining control on offense. Gets the setup, but knocked aside by T-Corral. Up to ZPS. Hawkser with the win on the 50. Afterthought can't get the block he needs off the wall, but there's T-Corral to send it back whence it came. And so does Zolhe as well. Dropped down, popped up. Afterthought, there's the hit off the side, but no follow through yet by Sway eSports.
I like the idea there from Alpha Cap. You got to respect those backboard reads when you got any one of these players in the air, but he's definitely one to look out for. I mean, Alpha Cap and T-Corel, once again, to be fair, and then Zombie's doing his fair share as well, but Afterthought, plenty of offense so far. I'm wondering if they're going to be able to take the lead first.
They need that if they want to close out this series early, prevent that game of 5 that we want so desperately to see happen in this series. They got that first win, even after an unfortunate circumstance for T-Corel, but there's a great shot, almost in, off the post, off the crossbar, off of everything, even T-Corel to go out and back towards their end.
How unlucky can you get in that situation? I mean, honestly, looking at that one, you visited just about every part of the net that wasn't the back of it. In a moment, there's the Sway thinking they're lucky stars. I mean, if they're going to have that kind of luck moving forward, then you can just give them the win already.
Can't give them the win yet. They need to get on offense. They've been struggling so far on their side and eventually get sent back again. ZPS can't maintain control for long, but a great touch, able to recover somehow, but not enough for Zolhe to put a shot towards the back. Now sent back towards their end. Shock able to hit it aside. Zolhe with a great touch for the transition. Now there's a chance for ZPS. T-Corel can't get the angle he wants. Almost got the block, though. Another transitional shot. Nobody home on this one. Where was the defense on this play?
Well, I feel like ZPS was the one that was upfield in this, and suddenly, well, there goes your midfield man for Sway, and then the rest is history.
It was a double commit towards that midfield boost on the side. Both players went for it, and nobody went for the net. Didn't expect that counterattack, and that might cost them the game and potentially the series if things go this way.
Nah, I fit. It's going to be fine. Sway, look at this. They're just getting set up on the offense already. They've had a little bit more than we saw in the first couple of minutes, and that is a bit of an interesting play. They got the opponent with it, but it's moving down the other way. T-Corel's going to get blocked out.
The need to get on offense fast. Half the game already gone and some change. And it's been the majority of possession in the favor of Afterthought. Alpha Cap so strong in that last one. Very silent so far. ZPS trying for a set of great backboard defense, as you mentioned. Alpha Cap with another potential setup, but Zolhe has been clinical on defense for them to maintain this 1-goal lead so far. ZPS gets a good shot, barely off target, off the crossbar, and no rebound in sight.
Great read on the dunk, but just couldn't put it on through. Sway looking very solid on the offense right now. You mentioned a lot of good defense from Zolhe, but they're starting to run out of boost.
That might be enough to hold on for long. All they need is to keep it at this 1-goal deficit. CPS set it off to T-Corel, another block. Just mayhem on the goal line with Afterthought players and Sway Sports players getting involved all over the pitch. Still can't find itself to a tie game just yet. T-Corel getting stopped by Hoxer. CPS has to back off on this one for another angle. Only a minute remain for Sway eSports to try and tie things up and get them closer to that game 5 they desperately need. Now a chance for Alpha Cap to clear this aside. Almost a bit of miscommunication there between him and T-Corel. ZPS, a great clear. T-Corel with a great touch. Now we need the finish. There it is. Oh my blocked by Zolhe yet again on defense as T-Corel sends it back to them. 30 seconds remain for Sway eSports to stay in the upper bracket. They might do it here again off the backboard and sent away. Zolhe is on fire.
That was a clinical offensive play right there, and it looked like it was guaranteed to go through, but Zolhe had other plans, and now they're looking in a very bad spot. 13 seconds. Sway needs this one so bad. It's towards the net. It's just barely out. Can they bring it back?
T-Corel, he's going to take his time on this one. Carry it forward. Does get blocked by Shock. That might be all she wrote for Sway eSports in the upper final. Going to drop down. Not yet. Has a chance, but eventually will hit the ground. Afterthought. Prevent disaster from striking during this best-of-5 upper final. Able to edge things out at the end. So close after so many shots by Sway eSports offense. I'm just flabbergasted after that one.
Flabbergasted. You know something's bad when Vaudable is flabbergasted. But seriously, Sway, I hate to see you lose out here. But good news, they're moving down into the lower finals. They are not out of it yet. And honestly, I mean, the way they were looking in game number 3 of that one, I would have faith in them to move back up. But, I mean, Just happens sometimes.
Happens sometimes. Unfortunate that they did have a disconnect during that first game, but it was already 3-1. And then we saw Afterthought, even after getting stomped, I just have to say it, in that third game, 6-2, they were able to bring things back, keep it so close. All the aggression on offense we saw happen time and time again. And Zolhe, we gotta talk about this man.
Definitely.
On defense. Insane, stellar save after stellar save after stellar save.
I mean, no, not even just on defense. Zolhe was just all over the pitch. I mean, we're seeing replays after replays here where Zolhe is making every single play, saves, assists, and then playing as that final striker as well. He had 6 shots on net in that last game. He's doing all the work by himself. We were pointing out that Shock and Hawks were working like a good unit last time around with Shock standing out on day 2. It's Zolhe's turn, and he's here making a statement.
And what a statement to make by getting themselves a spot in the grand finals. Gonna be waiting to see if it's either Upper 90 Peeps or Sway Esports making it there. We do have another matchup. This one's gonna be our last best of 3 of the broadcast. It will be the lower semifinal between Upper 90 and Peeps. You don't want to miss it. We're gonna take a quick break, so don't go anywhere.